Hey, I don't know, but this is getting bad. Now, Minnesota coach Cheryl Reeve is on task force and knows it will take a little bit of time to get everyone on the same page. But she went on to say, obviously, we'll continue to work with the league on getting right because we're not the only team sitting here wondering why everything is a foul. She stated, everything is a foul.
2 hours and 41 minutes. That's how long a WNBA game lasted last week. Not a playoff game, not triple overtime. A regular season game that went to 1 overtime. And the reason why should terrify anyone who cares about this league's future. Because right now, the WNBA has a referee problem that's spiraling out of control, and it's about to cost them everything they've built this season.
Week of the WNBA season with team averaging 21 fouls a game. Now, the last time Indiana Fever played the Sparks, it was 24 fouls called on both teams. It was 48 fouls in total, which is insane. It goes on to say that's up just 2 per game from the same point last year. That number dropped over the course of the 17-point fouls on average per game for each team. Now, goes on to
48 fouls. In a single game between Indiana and the Sparks, the referees called 48 total fouls on both teams. To put that in perspective, that's a foul every 2 minutes of game time. And this isn't an isolated incident. The league average has jumped to 21 fouls per team per game, up from 19 last season. But here's what makes this dangerous. Monty McCutcheon, the head of officiating, just told the Associated Press to expect that number to keep rising. They're not trying to fix this. They're doubling down.
Change in expectation, said Sue Bloch, who is the head of referee performance and development for the WNBA. When we drilled down the nitty-gritty, it came down to we needed to strictly enforce our current guidelines. So that's what you're seeing more, a more stricter enforcement of freedom of movement that will allow the game to open and the players to showcase their talents. I don't believe that's the case. I do not believe that is the case regarding WNBA refereeing right now.
Sue Bloch, the head of referee performance and development, says they didn't change any rules. They're just strictly enforcing current guidelines to allow freedom of movement and let players showcase their talents. But watch what actually happens when you call a foul every 2 minutes. The game doesn't open up, it stops. Players can't find rhythm, coaches can't establish rotations, and fans who tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark or Brianna Stewart play basketball end up watching referees review plays at the monitor for minutes at a time. The Indiana Fever's last game is the perfect example. Not only did they call 48 fouls, but the officials spent so much time reviewing plays that the flow completely died, players standing around, coaches frustrated on the sideline, and viewers at home checking their phones because nothing's happening on the court.
Caitlin Clark received a technical foul hella fast. I mean, super duper fast. Now, everybody else, mouthed off to the referee, but it seemed like they made it their business to give Caitlin Clark that big old T. Now, you get so many technical fouls throughout the season before you have to miss a game or two and receive a fine. But I've been noticing a huge influx in.
And it's not just the quantity of fouls, it's the inconsistency. Caitlin Clark got hit with a technical foul so fast it made headlines across Fox News, NBC News, and the New York Post. Meanwhile, other players are jawing at referees with no consequences. The problem isn't that they're calling fouls. The problem is nobody knows what's actually a foul anymore. When you're calling everything, you're essentially calling nothing, because players can't adjust their defense when the standard changes possession to possession.
Well, take a little bit of time to get everyone on the same page. But she went on to say, obviously, we'll continue to work with the league on getting right because we're not the only team sitting here wondering why everything is a foul. She stated, everything is a foul. New York Liberty overtime win over Washington went from 2 hours to 44 minutes. Increased fouls also led to a longer game. Then it goes on to say, Brianna Stewart stated, it disrupts everyone's flow.
Brianna Stewart said it perfectly. This disrupts everyone's flow. And she's right. Think about what made this WNBA season special. Caitlin Clark forcing arenas to move to larger venues, record television ratings, mainstream media coverage. All of that happened because people wanted to watch elite basketball players compete at the highest level. Nobody tuned in to watch referees blow whistles for 2 hours and 41 minutes. Here's what the league doesn't seem to understand. Physicality isn't the enemy. Bad officiating is. The reason people loved watching Clark in college wasn't because Iowa played soft defense. It's because the game had rhythm. Players could be aggressive without worrying that breathing on someone would send them to the free throw line. The best basketball happens when referees let players decide the game, not when they insert themselves into every possession.
We have to talk about Lisa Leslie. So Lisa Leslie, I did not report on this when it first happened. Lisa Leslie was on ESPN, and she had some things to say about GMs, about Caitlin Clark. Let's listen to this. Let me blow this up for you guys. Let's analyze what she had to say. Let's play.
Before the season started, WNBA GM selected Paige Beckers as a player they would most like to start a franchise with. What's your reaction to that?
Well, all those GMs probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark, who is the player who has made, never in the history of the WNBA have we had a player force teams to get into larger arenas.
Bro, no disrespect to the homeboy Jason Whitlock, but he stated that he believed that Caitlin.
Now let's talk about Lisa Leslie, because she just put every general manager in the league on notice. When ESPN asked her about GMs selecting Paige Beckers as the player they'd most want to start a franchise with, Leslie didn't hold back. She said those GMs are probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark. And she's absolutely correct. Never in WNBA history has a single player forced teams to move games to larger arenas before even playing a professional game. That's not hype. That's not media creation. That's genuine star power translating into revenue. And if you're a GM who thinks you'd rather build around someone else, you're not thinking about winning. You're thinking about something else entirely.
I told y'all it's not dying. As long as Caitlin Clark got a large portion of America behind her, there's no way her persona will die. All she got to go out there and do, shoot a couple logo threes, average 20-some points per game, average a double-double, maybe triple-double. Caitlin Clark will live on forever, bro. And anybody that thinks that Caitlin Clark is not the right player to build a franchise around, you're fucking retarded. You're fucking retarded.
But here's where this all connects back to the referee situation. The WNBA finally has mainstream attention. They have a player in Caitlin Clark who can shoot logo threes and fill arenas. They have established stars like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson playing at MVP levels. The product on the court is better than it's ever been, and the league is actively sabotaging it with officiating that makes games unwatchable. Minnesota Lynx coach Cheryl Reeves is on the competition committee, and even she's saying it's going to take time to figure out what the standard is. Think about that. A coach who helped create these guidelines doesn't know what's going to be called. How are players supposed to know? How are fans supposed to understand what they're watching when the people making the rules can't explain them consistently?
Yeah, of course, I've been saying Caitlin Clark, rising tide lifts all boats.
Before the season started, WNBA GM selected Paige Beckers as a player they would most like to start a franchise with. What's your reaction to that?
Well, all those GMs probably going to get.
So it looked like, she just put them on notice, man. But I want to know y'all thoughts down in the comments section right now. Keep them Bills on Indiana FIBA. We'll be playing tonight. And be on the lookout for content.
So here's what's really at stake. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They can continue down this path of over-officiating every game, calling 21 fouls per team, reviewing plays endlessly, and turning 2-hour games into 3-hour slogs. Or they can recognize that the physicality people complained about wasn't actually the problem. The problem was inconsistency. The problem was letting certain things go in one game and calling them tight in another. The solution isn't to call everything. The solution is to establish a clear, consistent standard and stick to it. Let players know what they can and can't do, then get out of the way and let them compete. Because right now, the referees are becoming the story. And in basketball, when the referees are the story, everybody loses. Think about what happens if this continues. Caitlin Clark is averaging a double-double as a rookie. She's bringing millions of new viewers to the league. But if every game she plays turns into a free throw shooting contest that lasts 2 hours and 40 minutes, how long before those casual fans stop watching? How long before the momentum this league has built completely evaporates because the product became unwatchable? The irony is that the WNBA is trying to protect its players and improve the game. Nobody wants to see dangerous plays or injuries. But you don't fix that by calling 48 fouls in a game. You fix it by identifying the actually dangerous plays, the flagrant fouls and hard closeouts that can hurt someone, and coming down hard on those specific actions. Everything else should be basketball. Lisa Leslie said those GMs who picked Paige Beckers over Caitlin Clark deserve to get fired. And she's right about the business side. But the bigger threat isn't GMs making bad decisions, it's the league office making a decision that kills the momentum they've spent all season building. Because if games keep lasting 2 hours and 41 minutes with 48 fouls, it won't matter who you draft, nobody's going to watch. Sue Bloch says strict enforcement will allow players to showcase their talents. But you can't showcase your talents when you're standing at the free throw line or waiting for officials to review a play. You showcase your talents by playing basketball. And right now, there's not enough basketball happening between all these whistles. The New York Liberty versus Washington game that went to overtime took 2 hours and 44 minutes. That's not sustainable. That's not entertaining. That's not the product that's going to keep the casual fans who discovered the WNBA this season because of Caitlin Clark. Those fans came for highlight plays and competitive basketball. They didn't come to watch referees. And here's the thing that should worry the league most. They're doing this during their moment. This is the season. This is when people are paying attention. This is when mainstream sports media is covering WNBA games. And the story isn't about the incredible rookie class or the MVP race or the playoff push. The story is about referees calling too many fouls and games taking too long. Monty McCutcheon says to expect foul numbers to keep rising. That's not a solution. That's a warning. And if the league doesn't course correct immediately, they're going to look back at this season as the moment they had everything and threw it away because they couldn't get out of their own way. The talent is there. The stars are there. The audience is there. The only thing standing between the WNBA and sustained growth is the whistle. So the question isn't whether the referees can maintain this standard. The question is whether the league will realize they're killing their own product before it's too late. Because right now, every game that takes 2 hours and 40 minutes, every 48 foul disaster, every technical foul handed out for looking at a referee wrong, that's one more reason for casual fans to change the channel. And once they're gone, they're not coming back. What do you think? Are the referees protecting players or destroying the product? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more honest WNBA analysis without the corporate spin, hit that subscribe button. Because this story isn't over, not by a long shot.